Okay, good morning. Did you know that in February I was in Bhutan speaking in a country where they have happiness as one of the school subjects. But I know that the organizers took a risk when they invited the speaker from Finland, because as you know, in Finland we take education very seriously. I was asked to tell you something about our reforms. So if you fall asleep, I will make a sound when it's time to wake up. Let's see how to get this more. Yeah, but we try to make this work. This is what we always say, that when you have technology, you should expect. Okay. Why we take education seriously is that it's our constitutional right in Finland. In Finland, in our constitution, we have chapter 16, and it states that everyone has the right to free basic education in Finland. Everyone. And also the public authorities must also ensure by law for everyone an equal opportunity participation, and also in other forms of education. So that's very deep in our culture. And that has made us the most literate country in the world. Well, not that one. Do you know how we became the most literate country? In the old days, you should be able to read and write in order to get married. So that was very motivating for young boys and girls. And we still have that culture somewhere here. Learn to read, write, and also educate yourself in order to be a good husband and a wife. This is the picture of our reforms. You see that nothing happens overnight. I try to make it very personalized, because if I just read you some of the reforms and the dates they happened, you will not remember any of it. But how did Finland get to where it is today? Again, as I said, this is also very personal for me. Whoops. Exciting. Dark ages. Simple device, and I just learned how to use it. 1866 it was decided that we should establish school education in Finland. It was voluntary. By the time my grandfather was supposed to go to school, there were no schools nearby. But luckily, at that time it was already established that there were teachers who went around in Finland, stayed in the farmhouses, collected all the children around, and started and stayed in the farm until all the children that lived nearby could read and write. But my grandfather, he noticed the importance of education and wanted his children to go to school and stay in the school as long as possible. Unfortunately, when my mother was born, she was born just before the war started in Europe, and she went to school right after the war. Finland was just scattered, destroyed, and what was noticed that a lot of poor families, and most of them were very hungry when they came to school, so teachers thought of ways how to make them learn better. So school meals were introduced in Finland. They celebrate the 70th anniversary of school meals, because if you are hungry, you will not learn anything, but you have good nutrition, you learn better. And the biggest obstacle at that time was that it was difficult to go to school without shoes. So UNICEF sent in lots of clothes for children at that time so that they could go to school. Especially in winter time, the shoes were very necessary. After the war, the family started to grow, and we saw a big boom of babies born and new entrants coming to education. It almost doubled our student numbers. That also woke up the researchers. They started doing educational research. How can we educate our children better? And something they noticed that we had old traditions. If you lived in a farm, you went back to the farm, stayed in the farm, and that a lot of talent was missed. And they said that we should have a tradition where we educate everybody so that they can promote for the society and the economy much better. So then came the 70s. That was a very political era in the world and also in Finland. A very determined decision was made. Let's have equal opportunities for all Finns to educate themselves. In the nearby school, we should have a similar level, similar good quality education available for all. It was a political decision, required a lot of changes. Also in schools, all the teachers, the formal teacher education was transferred from old teacher seminars to the universities, and they became the learning experts. And since then, the administrative work has got a lot easier. That was also the time when I went to the first grade, and we had a big reform. All teachers were re-educated, all the structures were redone. And that's how we went all the way until early 90s. We were not satisfied of our education system. We had our debates, but yet somehow it was obvious that we were doing okay. In the early 90s, also when the Soviet Union collapsed, it had very big impact in our education. How? Because we fell into a financial crisis. The wise decision was done then, let's not cut from education, but let's make the cuts on administration. At that time, we abolished systems like school inspector. After that, we decided that no longer we don't need somebody to reprove the school books. Let's just let the schools to decide, because the teachers have become very good experts and they can decide what materials they use. So, to our surprise, we came to the 2000 and the first international comparisons started coming up. And somehow, Finland found its way on the top of the PISA tests. It was really a surprise for us. As I said, we were not that satisfied in our own education system, but then again the doubts. How are the other ones doing? Okay, you've heard some of the elements that we see strong in Finnish education. School meals, if you're hungry you don't learn. If you have 15-minute breaks, you move in between the classes. It's healthy for your brain. That's when they start the learning process, what you have discussed in the previous 45 minutes. collaboration instead of competition, equity, equality in the classrooms. No one is left behind in Finnish schools. And we also provide public funding for all schools. And no national testing until the end of the upper secondary education. Relatively short school days, 3 to 4 hours, 5 hours a day, and little homework. And actually homework is decided, it's normally, I would say, that half an hour, 45 minutes the maximum. But like my son, he's on the 3rd grade at the moment, he gets weekly assignments. He gets the homework on Monday, and he returns them the next Monday. And he has flexibility, and he needs to plan his week ahead when to finish his homework. So he can have flexibility in between the weekdays when he practices sports or other activities. 2010, a teacher noticed that the children generation had changed again due to the technology, the family situation, the economy, and she said that we still need to move forward. Actually, she's famous for calling the National Board of Education and asking, what would happen to me if I threw out all the school desks and the chairs from my class? Would I be still a teacher? And the school inspector or the counselor of education in the National Board of Education said, there's no legislation on that. You can do whatever you wish to. She did that. She removed all the old school equipment and worked with the families and with the children and asked them, how would you like to equip the classroom? So they built in old sofas, mats, tables to the classroom, so it became like a family type of environment. What happened? Learning results just started improving. The class was very calm and it was very peaceful to do the learnings. So a lot of new ideas were born with our teachers. 2014, it was time for my son to go to school, or the preschool. As I said, we don't have any national assessment, but we believe in self-assessment. Of course, at that age, he did not know how to read, but he received this sheet of paper that he completed with parents. We wrote the sentences, can you read, can you play, do you get mad if you lose in a game? And every time he replied yes, we said that you can color that part of the plane. And then he took that plane to his teacher, and the teacher immediately noticed in one glimpse where are the strengths of this child and what are the areas where he might need some additional supervising. Like if he had a little bit difficulties in losing the games, when they organize some games, I mean, the teacher might come nearby and see that when the game ends, no fights start. So then they learn themselves to assess their own skills, and also the information is in between the teacher and the student. Also, teachers invent a lot of amazing things. We are now introducing first foreign language from the 1st grade on in Finland, because we've noticed that at that time the child's brain is very adaptive. So they learn, although they don't know that they're studying, like English, which most students take as the first step. The English teacher put this password on the door, and it's changed every week. And the children learn some of the most important phrases they were studying that week. Like here, they were like learning to write English, and instead of like in Finland, we write it as we pronounce it. But in English language, that's very funny. You write letters that you keep silent. Like light, in Finnish it would be L-I-T, light. But in English, G-H. And also, I know that you are going to summer holidays soon. It's very important to have the integration from preschool to the first grades on. Introduce what is expected when you come to school. I also remember that when my son finally went to the first grade, and in the end of the day, he already got a report card. It was a card which said that, congratulations, you have successfully completed the first day of your school. And he was very proud of it, and he wanted to go back. If more will follow. Also, as I said, school days are short, and in the beginning the children don't know how to read, so the teacher prepared the schedule so that you can just look at the images and you know what are the subjects they will be studying. The computers are here because they also tested how they could use the computers much more into education. After 1 year of piloting, they removed the computers and returned mostly with more traditional and various books, but of course computers stay. Finnish lessons, sports lessons, and so on. (2016), so we're approaching. Very remarkable year because that's when the new national core curricula was introduced in our education system. Why do I stress curricula? Is because that's the steering document that we believe in. That has all the values that we see as of important in our education system. It has a description of the outcomes, what is expected. It's also some guidelines on evaluation, how you should evaluate the children. But it's not something that everybody obeys as such, because we have a very unique system that once we have this national curricula in place, the local level, the schools or the school owners and the municipalities, they prepare their own curricula so that they can import the local regional strengths to school education, because not every part of Finland is similar. Some parts you might have more technology industry, so you might have some more digitalized IT, STEM subjects, and in other parts you might have like more traveling services, though, so languages are stressed and so on and so on. But again, that again correlates so that everybody reads the curricula and translates that so that it fits for the local purposes. And you don't need any heavy mechanism so that everybody would need to read and learn the curriculum. Is this the sign that I should stop now, or? Okay. Finnish education is personalized and collaborative. And as I said, not every child learns the same pace, same style all the time. And every teacher in Finland knows that. But you have fixed hours when you study. Some students are much faster than the other ones, and some finish very early. Would you make them to follow your instruction, or you have finished, well done, now it's your time to pick up your shore for the rest of the time, so that you don't interfere others while I advise them how to excel in the subjects. They can pick up some of these tasks and do that, and they will be happy. So by now, I hope that I've managed to convince that you, the teachers, are the key of Finnish education success. You are the learning professionals and experts that what we need, and we work very closely with our teachers. When we make any reforms, we always have teachers, teacher unions, employers, parents, even the children attending different activities of the planning processes. And that's how the policies are then done. They are not decided by single persons, but they are always like agreed with the society. And that's how everybody sees the value in education. Of course, we have some disagreements, what should be done more or less, but that's what happens everywhere. But we respect and trust our teachers, and we place heavy trust nowadays in our schools. They are very autonomous to do. The principals have a lot to say. And maybe a word about principal's role. It's not that the teachers are serving the principal, the rector, but the rectors always say that they are the pedagogic leaders and see that all the pedagogic practices are in place in our schools, and they are actually serving the teachers so that they can perform their task as good as possible. So we are eager to see where our school is evolving. You would say that it's complete. You don't need to do anything. If you have that sense, then nothing will happen. Your education system will deteriorate. Actually, we are reforming currently our education system from all levels of education, because that's the only way we can keep the pace what the world is changing at the moment. And now, as I'm coming to the end of never just paper exercises, they always affect everyone's lives. And the good thing, and the best thing, and the best part of teacher's job is this, what is metaphorically said into these sentences. You are the ones who see when the child starts to learn and starts to understand the meaning of his life himself. And then the day came when the risk to remain tight but was more painful than the risk to bloom. I wish you all a blooming summer and very fruitful and blooming next year in your education institutions and schools. Thank you.
Now is the time.
Yes. In a classroom. How many children are in a classroom? It varies, but between 18 to 24, that's the normal class size. But we also run some pilots. I know that the biggest group size at the moment is somewhere around 70. But then they have 3 teachers, team teaching taking place in the class, or actually it's a different setting. So but in 90%, 95% of the schools between 18 to 24. It makes the teachers' work manageable and also personal, so that they can have personal links with all students. Yes?
Thank you for the presentation. Can you elaborate a bit more about the relationship between the national curriculum and the local ones? How are they developed? What are the constraints? And what is really, push subsidiaries down to the school level? Thank you.
Okay. We renew the national co-curricula approximately every 10 years. And that it means that it is redone. Of course, we are collecting all the time information, what is happening in our schools, what are the new trends, what is the new horizon we are moving to. But then when we launched the preparation of new national core curricula, we first decide on the class hours, how many hours of each subject will take place in our school, and then based on that decision, then we invite a lot of working groups where, as I said, teachers, principals, NGOs, industry representatives, parents, even students are invited and have their say. And quite often we have in those working groups, it's actually the teachers who prepare the guidelines for the national curricula. And once they participate in the process, they also start internalize what are the topics that are discussed in the new curricula. And they know that their stake will come because at the local level, they start organizing discussion groups so that when it's time and the definite curricula for the national level, the general ideas are there or written in the document, then they start prepare their localized curricula. It takes a lot of effort, evening, but it's also something that where the schools are building the consensus and the teachers really have possibility to collaborate and also share their ideas, what they see as a strength, what they would like to strengthen in their schools and education. So it's a two-way process. First we start the national development, but teachers are already involved. And then when it's localized, it's more like local practices and national seminars where they can share the ideas and exchange information. Yes. How do you recognize the skills needed?
Yes. How do you identify the new skills, the future skills? And after that, how do you update these skills to meet the future requirements?
Yes. As I said, our teachers are well trained. They are experts of learning sciences, not specifically on specific subject. Of course, a subject teacher is a expert on specific fields, but in addition to that, they are also learning the learning sciences. So they themselves are the experts. And our universities that train the teachers are very autonomous, so they are not nationally decided what kind of skills the teachers should have. We believe that the universities do a very good job in that because they do the cutting-edge research all the time. They participate in the international seminars, discussions, visits, colleagues, journals, and that's where you have all the knowledge where the learning sciences are developing at the moment. But when it comes to the curricula and defining the skills that we require from the students, we have some subject-specific skills, of course, but nowadays we have also these broad skills, thematic skills. We know that we want to have like more entrepreneurial skills for the children. We want to have increase the well-being of their lives. We encourage them to be more interested in sustainable development. You just name it. And they are like transversal themes that are touched in all subjects. So it's a new, especially that's the new part of our current national core curricula. And also we are seeing that what happens in the world is that you need more holistic views what is happening in the world. So we have these phenomena-oriented learning projects taking place in schools. Once or twice a year you choose a topic. It could be like water, and then the students decide themselves what is interesting in the topic when it would be water. Some of the boys would be interested, how do you get water in the city? Somebody would be concerned, what happens with all the plastic that we find in our oceans? The other one would be like, I like to swim, what's the pollution or what's the level of the water in the nearby rivers or in the lake? And somebody who is active in sports might choose a topic that, why do I need to drink water so much after my exercises? How does that affect my body? And then they make a project work from that on. You start with very basic phenomena from the first grade on. It's very simple things. But slowly, towards the more older you get, the more prepared they are to do very comprehensive projects and extremely valuable work. And then during those phenomena periods, they have and they can consult all the teachers in the school and also out of the school experts, families, friends, whoever they know. But it is just to teach them that life is not fragmented, but there are really real-life problems in the world and everybody can solve, and it's very important to have the learning tools how to learn to solve those problems.
Sorry, I have a question as well. What kind of strategies are in place to deal with immigration? So when a new child starts and perhaps doesn't speak the language, how is that child then supported?
Oh yes. As you know, we have received a lot of immigrants, refugees in Finland in 2 years ago. Normally we have something like 3,000 refugees coming to Finland, and our system was designed to digest that amount. But then in just 6 months we received 30,000. So that put a big stress on our education system. Because our constitution guarantees that every child in Finland should be educated and receive education, it was very soon decided that let's integrate all the refugees children to the local schools. And I would say that, of course, it's very important to learn the language so that you can start following the instruction, teaching, and making friends. As I said, child brain is very adaptive, and within 1 year they have actually pretty good language skills already. It's possible, and then they start interpreting things even for their parents. It also requires a lot of teacher training. We have some specialist teachers who are required for teaching Finnish as second languages. And also, when the situation just boomed, so all the teachers needed those skills. So we have been training the teachers, and the teachers themselves find a lot of help with each other, with their own networks. How did you manage to do that? And we just encourage them to do that. There's actually one group that even I belong to, is Teachers Treasure Book on Facebook. And that's where teachers voluntarily just post some examples they have succeeded and been very happy with their teachings, and they just share them with their colleagues, and then in return they have very valuable comment on that. And also, somebody might advise something that, oh, you succeeded to do that time, like that one, I did it this time. So it's partly training the teachers, but also informal training and providing materials how to deal with this group of immigrations. Of course, if you are well established in Finland, you have the right even to study your own mother language. Like in my son's school, I think they have something like 40 different languages with the children. Because at least one or the other parent from that local community has an immigrant background. But the good news is that with the immigrants, they want to make the best for the children. They are very committed and supportive so that their children would succeed. So they are even putting more support for the school than the regular Finns, because we see that, like, of course, we get all these services. But they're very committed to help the schools. It's always cooperation. I could spend here the whole day if you'd like to, but, and I will be in the corridor.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I watched it very carefully, and I must say that I'm very jealous. I would like to move to Finland, and after maybe you can teach me how to do that.
We can switch houses. I like the weather here.
Yes. No, because I have a child, you see, and I want for him all the best in the world, of course. And I would like you, if you want, to give us your advice for a hypothetical situation of a country where in that country it happens that the people that runs the country doesn't want to do things for education, and the people that are working knows what changes have to be made to improve the education, but nobody's doing. I mean, from the higher levels, they don't do anything. What do you suggest for the people of that country to do? Thank you.
I've been asked the same question yesterday when the embassy held a seminar, and luckily I was prepared with the comics. In that comics it was said that I want all of you to change, not me. And that's not true. All of us need to change. The only advice I can say that if you know that you are doing the best work, continue doing that. Even the politicians will wake up someday. And anyway, they will listen to you, the better results you show up. Don't expect that they would approve it, your work immediately. Just start doing normally, and you are doing small miracles every day. And you are raising the generation that has seen the value of your work. I'm not so much in the politics and give them the proper answers, but yes, I have been in the national level organizations for the past 25 years, and I have met many politicians. Some of them are good ones, and surprise, some of them are not. But we manage, because we do our share of our work as good as possible, and in the end, they will follow. It's just a debate and blah, 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 but it doesn't hurt anybody. If you forget that part and just start doing what you do the best, you will succeed.
One more question, please. How did you manage to solve the bureaucracy problem in Finland? Thank you.
Money is a very good consultant. When you are lacking money, that's when innovation starts happening. And we always have too little money for education in Finland. So innovation takes place, and we've seen that as useful, and we don't expect everything what we do will be paid, because the payment in the end, if we do the things right, is much bigger than what you could do with any money. But again, we are very consent nation. We discuss a lot. We don't have high hierarchies in Finland anymore. So it's very easy to have the dialogue. We're just trying to be very open even to new ideas, and trust. And once you get the trust, I mean, it's not something that can be given. We haven't given the trust to teachers, but they earned it. And that helps us. And now we see that the more we listen to our teachers, principals, and all the communities around the schools, the better work the government can do. And that's the message we'll be telling everybody. And I've seen that you already have implemented some very good Finnish ideas. That means that you are taking the responsibility on your own hands. So keep just doing it.
We can take one more question. Is there anything? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, as you probably noticed, maybe I should switch to Romanian. Probabil că ați observat că am decalat puțin programul. Din păcate, în dimineața aceasta am aflat mult prea târziu, am aflat că Părintele Neculea nu poate fi alături de noi.